Okay, aloha kako, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Good evening. We can find our seats. Yeah, I just got to speak into a little more. Thanks, Chair. Just a housekeeping. If you need to use the loo, it's actually out this door on the side. Take a U-turn. It's in the hallway just behind us over here. Thanks, everyone. Okay, aloha kako. Welcome. Good evening. To open our meeting this evening, I'd like to welcome Lonnie Olsen-Chung, our board member, to give us a pule this evening. Thank you, Lonnie.
Our Father in heaven, we come to thee this evening at the beginning of our Waimea Community Association meeting. So grateful, Father in heaven, for the opportunity to be here. We're grateful for the leadership of James and the board and for all of our government representatives who are here today and for the issues concerning our Waimea community and for the support and the time and efforts that we take to help our community out. We ask you to bless those who may be on their way, that they may arrive here in safety. And when the meeting is over, Father, we ask that thou would take us all home in safety. And we're grateful for Keck for letting us to use their facilities this evening. This is our prayer. Do it in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Mahalo, Lonnie. Thank you very much. My name is Jim Sustis. I'm the president of the Waimea Community Association. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. We're here at the WM Keck Observatory headquarters as we connect with presenters and our guests here in a hybrid setting. So we have a camera in front of us here that's capturing us. Any noise you make, any kind of movement is going to catch you. You're going to be online, so our viewers online are going to see our community members here joining us. So wave to your neighbors down the street. And subscribe to the and help continue our efforts in connecting with the community, you're more than welcome to donate or join as a member, and Riley and Patty are up there to help you with that. You can also visit our website at waimeatown.org for membership form there, or send us an email at waimea@gmail.com if you have any questions or need any help with any of that. Your contributions and your membership allow us to reach out and connect with the community in this setting and really continue the work that WCA has done for over 60 years now. Mahalo nui. We're also grateful for the generosity of Keck Observatory for this evening. It has been important for us to bring our meetings back to in person while maintaining that virtual component that the community has enjoyed and appreciated the past years. So with that, I'd like to welcome up our Keck Observatory Interim Director, Rich Matsuda, to share with us a few words and welcome us into the space. All over that.
Thank you. Thank you, James. We're trying to keep this quick. I think I had 4 minutes. So aloha, I'm Rich Matsuda. I'm the Interim Director of Keck Observatory. So we're just really happy to welcome you into our space. And I just wanted to again recognize our distinguished elected officials who are here. This year marks our 30th year of science operations. So when I got here, we were still finishing up construction, but our first telescope had gotten online. And so for 30 years, we've been observing the universe as often as we can, every night if we can, depending on weather. And astronomers have made countless discoveries and contributed to knowledge about how the universe works. And over these 30 years, the 2 Keck telescopes have been the most scientifically productive ground-based telescopes in the world, something that I hope Hawaii and Waimea can be proud of. Of course, though, none of this would be possible were it not for Mauna Kea and the support of this community, and that we are deeply grateful for. So mahalo nui to Waimea community for the support. I also want to acknowledge that in recent years, particularly surrounding the TMT project, that astronomy on Mauna Kea has become a divisive issue for our community. It has sometimes split our community, our friends, and even our families. And for this, I'm deeply sorry. In welcoming you to this space, therefore, I want you to know that wherever you sit on the spectrum of supporting or not supporting astronomy, that you are all welcome here and your perspective is respected. So welcome. So I want to say a little bit about my perspective. So while those of us in astronomy are looking up right to the stars to learn about the universe, we need to remember to look down and see where our feet are planted. And our feet are planted here in Waimea, also up on Mauna Kea. So our connection to Aina and connection to people are important. And it's whether your genealogy is as a Kanaka Maoli descendant of this Aina, a multi-generational immigrant, or relative newcomer, this connection to Aina and to each other is important because it's what grounds us. And while I represent Keck, John Gabriel QB, who's the executive director of CFHT, is here, and I think I can speak for both of us that we both believe this strongly. So we are sitting, speaking of being Aina based, we're sitting right here tonight on a place that was called Pu'uloa Paddock. So the historic rock wall that surrounds this property and the parking lot dates back to, we think, at least Kamehameha IV, so Liho, probably before that. And Richard Smart of Parker Ranch gifted this lot that our Waimea headquarters sits on to us. And he donated this land because he had a future vision that he wanted to diversify educational and economic opportunities for the betterment of all of us in Waimea. So remembering where our feet are planted, I wanted to share a couple of ways that we are trying to carry on Richard Smart's vision here at Keck. And this is by supporting a community that has done so much to support us. So the first thing is we offer this meeting room to community-minded nonprofits free of charge on an as-available basis, provided that we aren't already using it for something we need to do and that we have someone who can support that. So if you have that need, then come in the back of the room. There is Keiko Aleb, Mariella Chalk. You just talk to them and express your need, and we'll try as best as we can to support that. Another thing is, yeah, thank you. Another thing is that you may have noticed if you live in Waimea that, about once a month, there's a food truck Friday event, and this is with Chris guys. So now Paka Events, Chris and his wife Dana, who's great, wonderful people to work with. We hold they do all the work. We just allow use of our grounds here, and we love welcoming people onto our grounds. So a family food truck. The next one is June 16th, yeah, Chris? Yeah. And then the third way, I'll just mention real briefly because it's going to be talked about in a little more detail, is this summer Keck and Canada France are partnering with Vibrant Hawaii on the Cow for Keiki food drive. So Keck and Canada France will be participating in food for the Keiki. So these are just some of the ways that we're trying to live up to that vision that Richard Smart set for us. I just want to close with a sincere mahalo nui to Waimea Community Association. You folks are the glue that help uplift our community. We're just happy to help in any way we can. So mahalo to the board, mahalo to James. And on behalf of Keck Observatory, we just welcome you. And if there's anything you need, just let us know. Thank you.
Mahalo nui, Rich. Thank you. So this evening, we have a couple of special guests here. We have a couple of community representatives and leaders to share and provide updates on policy and insight into the work that we even have ahead of us. So we're excited to learn about the new opportunities for our Keiki for one, and the accomplishments of our state legislators during this past session. We'll also be spending some time with our South Carolina police officers and our nonprofit guests for this evening to share about their community work and ongoing upcoming events. We also have allocated some time, if you've seen the agenda up at the front, we have allocated some time to allow you to ask your questions or community questions to our guests here this evening. We also appreciate questions that have been sent ahead of time. And for our viewers online, please use the live chat. We'll try and capture your questions as best as possible. And for our guests here in person, we may have some note cards if we can pass out, or we have some microphones that we can pass those around during that time, and we'll get to that. And we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can this evening with our guests. Mahalo nui. So to start things off, I'd like to welcome in our South Carolina police officers, Captain Jeremy Evangelista, Community Police Officers Justin Cabantine and Ansel Robinson, to share a few updates. Welcome, officers.
Thanks, James. Good evening, everybody. Evening. So we want to thank everybody for the support during Police Week, which was a couple of weeks ago. Really strong showing from not only our local community, but pretty much island-wide here. We had two ceremonies, one in Hilo, one in Kona, very well attended. Many sign waving events along the highways, showing the public showing support for their police department. We really appreciate that, and that goes a long way to making the job much more enjoyable. If you happen to miss the ceremony, I want to plug our YouTube channel. We have both ceremonies uploaded there. Just search YouTube for Hawaii Police Department. Should be able to find it there. And then while you're there, also browse some of our public service announcements that we put out on YouTube. Topics like proper seatbelt usage, announcements like your police department will now be using pickup trucks for vehicles, certain pickup trucks, so you can check that out there. And check that often because we upload content quite frequently there. With that, I'll turn it over to Justin, and he'll go over some of the primary report.
All right, thank you, Gab. So being that it's June 1st, we don't have the finalized number for the traffic, but what I can give you is there were 13 major traffic casualties, traffic collisions in our district, zero fatalities. Our officers did respond to 41 reckless driver calls within our district. They did do 20 grant funded projects. 10 of those were for speeding, 1 for distracted driving, 3 DUI, and 6 seatbelt grants. We did, excuse me, we did have 4 DUI arrests for the month of May. I'm going to give it to Officer Robinson, but our next Coffee with a Cop event is going to be June 23rd. And it's going to be right up here, Waimea Starbucks. Please come join us from 7 o'clock to 10. And before I give it up to him, our newsletter is going to be coming out, hopefully maybe by Monday. And inside of there, they're gonna have some hurricane season starting up June 1st to November. So a page in there will have direct links to your county civil defense, our website, and it has all the tips. Just go ahead and click the link and it'll take you right to the emergency preparedness.
I had a question, what was the date again that copied with the top was?
That's gonna be June 23rd. It's a Friday up here in Waimea.
That was like, they're doing some plumbing work and so forth.
Oh, are they?
Okay,
Okay,
so I don't know how long that's gonna take.
okay, I'll double check. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll double check and I'll make any corrections. Officer Robinson.
All right, hello, everyone. Nice to see you live for once. Usually we're up there. I live in Kona, so this is kind of a special appearance. Anyway. I'm gonna give you some of the crime statistics for the last month. So we have 3 assaults reported. They all kind of stemmed from one incident, multiple victims. We had 2 burglaries, 6 criminal property damage cases, 19 thefts, 6 retail thefts, 2 unauthorized control of propelled vehicle or vehicle thefts, and 1 unauthorized entry to motor vehicle or basically just breaking and entering, right? We did notice that there was more people or more victims that were locking their stuff and still getting broken into. So that happens from time to time. Just know locks aren't perfect, but they are better than nothing. So please lock your stuff. Okay, with that, we also want to announce that we're going to be doing a Keiki fishing derby. It's going to be on July 15th. It's a Saturday. It's open to all ages 5 to all the way to 18, anyone under 18. This is going to be a free event, so please come out. We're grateful for the support from the Friends of First Responders who are going to be collecting donations for the event, and we'll be doing a raffle at the end. So if anyone's interested in signing up, get a hold of us. We'll be at the station. We'll give the waivers that you need to complete, and then we'll get you in. In addition to that, I would like to remind the public that we are now doing continuous recruiting. So if anyone's interested, we're looking for more police officers and continuous recruiting for dispatchers. And you can find more information about that on our website. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say happy birthday to the U.S. Army and anyone who served in it, such as Officer Kavanson here. So thank you for your service. And I will turn it back over to you.
Yeah, Tilani, I saw your marker, but just a few seconds. July 1, this is kind of big. July 1, animal control becomes its own division for the county. The number stays the same. We call our non-emergency complaints line, they'll route the call. But animal control will become its own entity July 1. Thanks, everybody.
Mahalo, Captain, all officers, thank you for the service you do for our community. Aloha. Yes, Auntie Lonnie is our timekeeper, so do please keep an eye out for her. And also like to mention that you're welcome to get up and move around. That we have some coffee and some brownies and some water, so please enjoy. These are donations from the WCA board, so please enjoy. Thank you. And for our monthly meetings, we do strive to recognize fellow nonprofit organizations in the community. And for the month of June, WCA, Waimea Community Association, we're spotlighting the Waimea Trails and Greenways. With a big event planned for this weekend, we felt it opportune to connect with our community trail group. So this evening, we are joined by our trail committee lead, Glenn Lamb. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you, James, and the rest of the Waimea Community Association. I feel very privileged to be a part of this thing tonight. Just a little bit about Waimea Trails and Greenways. We are a volunteer community committee, really, that we strive to build a walking and non-motorized vehicle trail through Waimea. Many of you know that Waimea is a beautiful, gorgeous place with very little access to the mountains and to trails and whatnot. So we have a trail that follows the Waikoloa stream. And our main project is Keala Kahawai o Waimea. It was a name given by Leningrad Lernoff It means the streamside trail of Waimea, and we follow the Waikoloa stream. And the reason why we are doing this is because the trail offers such wonderful opportunities for our community. Health, exercise, we can get to work. I ride my bike to work every day. A lot of people use it to walk their dogs, enjoy nature. And the side benefit is we have work days where we take care of the stream. We've removed debris from the stream so that it flows, it keeps it from flooding. Currently, the county has completed its design of increment 1, which is the part that's open right now from Lindsay Road to Kahawai Street. They've completed the design, and hopefully soon it will be put out to bid and built. So we will have a trail that is going to be accessible by wheelchair. It'll be open to a lot more people because you won't be stumbling over roots and things like that. And we hope that more people will be able to enjoy it. We are also working with Parker Ranch to open up the next increment of trail from Kahawai Street down to the transfer station. That's another mile. And we've been working on that for quite a while now, and it's going to happen any moment. The last thing I wanted to mention was the trail has been called Waimea's best kept secret, because not very many people know about it, even people who live here. Now, we can't blame the young people of Waimea for that, because we enjoy students from HPA, from Parker School, from Waimea School, from Kanuoka Aina just last week, who come and work on the trail, and they really love it. Yeah, right. But they do participate, they spread wood chips, they do weeding, and the people who use the trail are so appreciative of that. So to get back to the best kept secret, hopefully after this weekend, it will not be Waimea's best kept secret, because we're celebrating National Trails Day nationwide. And here in Waimea, we are going to celebrate our trail. And there's a sign up there that we posted it in a couple places in town, and this is the flyer that we have been passing out, announcing the National Trails Day. It's going to be from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock at the nature park. We're going to have food trucks. There's going to be live music. We're going to have plein air painters from Waimea Arts Council. They're going to be along the trail painting between 9 and 11, and then it'll be judged at the Waimea Arts Council. And the winner is going to be the image on next year's t-shirt. And this year's t-shirt, we will be selling t-shirts at the nature park at our booth. And the image on the back of the t-shirt was last year's winner of the plein air competition. It wasn't a competition, it was just having a beautiful day out on the trail. So I hope you can come out and join us this Saturday, 9 to 1. Thank you very much.
Mahalo nui, Clem. Appreciate your hard work. Yes, we have a question, Cheryl.
I have a question. I represent the Waimea Outdoor Circle and the Waimea Nature Park, which, as Clem said, we're right next to each other. My question is, as you develop this trail and encourage more and more and more people to come, where are they going to park?
That is a really good question. And we are working, this next increment of trail is going to go from Kahawai Street down to the transfer station. At the transfer station, the county got a 17-acre piece of property from the state. And this was years back, 7 years maybe, or 5 years or something like that, 30 years, who knows. But that 17-acre park is gonna be a trailhead. We're gonna have parking there, and that hopefully will at least be an option to park there. I'm the nature park is so wonderful. I'm sure people are still gonna be parking there. I mean, I gotta think of that.
I know, we have about 20 to 30 parking spaces in the park. And once all of these people, and they already do, because the nature park is the trailhead for the trail. The website for Waimea Trails and Greenway, everybody comments, just go to the nature park there. So anyway, I'm urging you and begging you, please address the parking before it becomes a real problem.
We will let the county know about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
James.
Yes, Patty. Yes, so I haven't made that plug yet though, but, so this is something we also do, if you're welcome, if you're inclined to donate this evening to Waimea Trails and Greenways, if you are writing a check, it is made out to Friends of the Future. They are the nonprofit umbrella for Waimea Trails and Greenways. So our board members will come around passing the hat. You're welcome to donate if you'd like, and that's donation given to climbing the Waimea Trails and Greenways through Friends of the Future. Thank you. And as Cheryl did mention, there is a website, it's waimeatrails.org that has more information about it as well. But thank you, Cheryl, for your concern there as well. Yeah, noted. Thank you. All right. Well, you may have seen some exciting news and information about our little community as the state identified new preschool opportunities, and not to mention additional support for our families and our Keiki. There are multiple facets to the Ready Keiki program, and we're thrilled to have Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke with you this evening to present this new initiative. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening and aloha. It's so nice to be back in Waimea, and every time I see Patty, she gives me one more assignment. So I saw her at another event and she goes, no, you really gotta come to this Waimea Community Association meeting, and I can never say no to Patty. So I flew in midday because I had a bunch of meetings, and unfortunately I have to catch an 8 o'clock flight. So I'm gonna try to keep it condensed. The one time I was hoping that Hawaiian Air would be late so I can spend more time with you. They're still on time supposedly, but you know how that goes. But before I talk about the Ready Keiki initiative, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my philosophy in government, and I think it will give you some insights on what I believe government should be. So one of the functions, and so I've spoken to bunch of events, and some of you have heard me talk, so you may know some of the answers. So if you know the answers, don't blurt it out, Patty, Angela, or so one of the functions of the Lieutenant Governor's office, you know, it's name change, but there is this other function that the Lieutenant Governor's office does. It's called apostille. And I don't know if you know what an apostille is, but apostille is something that the state certifies a document. So say that you have to do business in a foreign country, or you have to adopt a child from a foreign country and they want a birth certificate or some ownership papers, you come to the Lieutenant Governor's office. At the Lieutenant Governor's office, we have the Secretary of State duties where we certify your document. So we're the only office in the state of Hawaii that certifies documents. So guess how many applications we have on a yearly basis for certification? Take a guess. Considering, you know, people have never heard of apostille, you think it'd be like, you know, 10 or 100. It's 9,000. So there are 9,000, not individuals, but 9,000 applicants that come through our door, and they're constantly calling, and they say, we dropped off a document last week, where is it? Okay, we're still processing. Because, you know, individuals who drop this off, they don't know there's like 9,000 others that we have to certify. But So one thing that we did was, we were searching our, office for some guidance and, okay, how do you expedite the certification process? And we came onto an audit that was done in 1960. And 1960, they were talking about how it's kind of a humbug process, because even the certification process, you can imagine, if you give me a birth certificate, we gotta check against authenticated, make sure that, it's correct. Because there are some folks, who may want a certified document that is not used for the right purpose. So we have to go through these checks and make sure that all the dots are everything is checked out. So one of the things that this 1960s audit said was you have to change the process. Number one, it's not efficient and people don't know where they're in the queue, and the same processes were some of the things that they're asking for, it's not necessary. But one of the interesting thing was, since 1960, the way that we do certification has not changed. And so talk about state government, that's sometimes the frustration with state government, because the government is there for its own speed and for its own purpose. And the thing that frustrates people is government is not relevant, and government is not efficient, and government is not there to help and be responsive to the people. So one of the things we took the apostle thing was, okay, let's look at all the challenges. So the number one challenge is, this is the kicker. So the cost of an apostle, for you to get an apostle, is, guess how much it is?
$500.
$500. Okay, I'll give you a hint. I said, the process has not changed since 1960. $3.50, $2, you're getting warmer, it's $1. And guess how much it costs now? $1. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a second thing. Guess how you pay the $1? And again, yeah, cash. Do you think a check was available in 1960? Maybe, but what was the most common thing? If you think about, your parents or my parents or grandparents' time, what was the way you give a money to someone? Cash or money order? And if you ask anyone who is under 28, they have never heard what a cashier's check or a money order is. And if you don't belong to a federal credit union where it's pretty much free, you have to go down to American Savings or Bank of Hawaii. And if you're not a member, then it costs you $10. Oh, you guys are cheap. It's sometimes $30. So it costs you $31 to give me a $1 cashier's check to process this application. And the kicker is this. So these individuals, sometimes it's businesses, they're giving us $1 to process these applications, but sometimes it's in error. And what do we have to do? Mail it back, and guess how much it costs? More than $1, and guess who pays for it? The taxpayers, instead of the people who are applying for these things. So over the years, that's how it's been, and we said, okay, we have to change the process where, okay, we're gonna charge you a little bit more. So we were able to pass a bill changing the amount from $1 to $10, but we are going to use that $10 to see if we can do online transfer, e-banking, or credit card way, so that it's efficient. The other thing that we are already doing is talking to an online platform service so that you can know exactly where your application is in queue, so that you don't keep calling our office on sometimes a daily basis or a weekly basis. And sometimes these things take a couple weeks, or sometimes it takes a couple months, and then you'll know exactly where it is. And then, so the reason why I'm going through that explanation before I get to the ready Keiki is because The way that we look at government is it has to be relevant to individuals. The individual who's coming into my office and asking for that apostille, for that individual, the apostille is really important to them, regardless of what anybody else thinks. And if it's important to them, then we should make it important for us, and we should make it efficient, and we should let them know where it is so that you don't become frustrated. So if you call my office 5 times and keep asking, where is it? Every time they call, can you imagine the frustration behind that individual? So that's the way that we look at how you solve government and how do you evolve government so that whatever we do, it becomes relevant to you and how we can be better effective legislator, better effective policymakers for the public. And so with that mentality, one of the things that I asked the governor if I can work on is preschool expansion. And the reason for that is back when I was in college, back in the 1980s, 40 years ago. I remember the superintendent at that point in time, he said, we are going to make sure that the state of Hawaii provides access to all 3 and 4-year-olds, the ability to have preschool education by year 2000. I tell my colleagues and I tell others, the year 2000 came and went 23 years ago, with very little being done to ensure that all 3 and 4-year-olds will have access to preschool. Currently, we have 35,000 kids who are 3 and 4-year-olds. Only 50% are going to preschool. 50% who are going to preschool are going because their parents can afford to send their kids to preschool. So it's not only about getting kids ready to learn, it is about social justice, it's about equity, and to make sure that every kid has an opportunity to have the same opportunity as others whose parents have the ability to pay for their kids' education. So I'm gonna skip some of these because a lot of these information is on our website. So if you go on our Lieutenant Governor website, this will be there. If you can, so when we took a look at what does it take to build enough preschools for our the underserved population, it came out to about 10,000 kids. And if you think about it, 10,000 kids is not an unreasonable task, and it's something that the state should be able to do. So one of the things, if you can, one of the things that we have been able to do is we were able to engage a lot of partners, and I want to specifically thank our Ready Keiki partners who are sitting in the back, Doug Adams, Angela Thomas from the Big Island. This is the first year where every county has participated in this initiative. And the reason why it's so important, I want to just mahalo Mitch Roth and his team for making preschool also an important county issue. So they have dedicated and they have worked within the county system to make sure that they are participating in this process. The other thing is we have private providers. Angela has worked in this circle for many, many years. We have private providers who have joined in this initiative. So what this preschool Ready Keiki initiative is not only a public school method. We are going to build as many public schools as we can, but at the same time, we also want to support the private providers. And the reason for that is if you're a working family and then there's a school out in Waimea, but you live in Puna and you're working in Waimea, it's gonna be really hard for you to drop off your kid in Waimea, go back home, or, pick them up at 2:15 or 1:30. It's just kind of a scheduling problem. So that's why we're not only helping on the public side, we're helping on the private side. So this year, thanks to the legislative leaders like David and Tim there, we were able to increase the preschool subsidy from 12 million to 50 million, which should take care of a lot more families. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is one of the big frustration for me, when I was a legislator, was that when we give money to departments and for programs, we really don't know how the money is spent. And I think that's part of the frustration on many residents as well. So one of the things that we are doing through our website, if you can fast forward. You will be able to see exactly how much money is being spent. So last year, the legislature provided $200 million to build preschools. So out of the 200, we will tell you exactly how much money has been released, how much has been spent, where it's being built, who's building it, and what's the timeline. And you can find all that information on our website. I think that is the biggest thing that I feel really proud about. The second thing is, if we can go to the map. The other really interesting thing is, remember the time that, you know, when I first gave birth to my son, he's now 20. Some people ask me, okay, you know, if you want to send your child to a good preschool, you gotta start applying now. But you really don't know where the preschools are located. So some of the things that really cool about our website and what this Ready Keiki website will do, it will tell you exactly where the preschools are located, whether it's public preschools or private preschools. It will show you where the kids are for our own data purposes. It will show where the workplaces are so that we can concentrate on building preschools at the workplaces. On the tab there, you can actually put your address to figure out, it will concentrate on your neighborhood where the preschools will be. And it will also show you where the future preschools will be located. So you can play around with this website. If you have any questions, give me a call. But I just wanted to thank you for this time, and we're very excited about this initiative. Thanks to Mrs. Pickles of Waimea. We will be opening the first one of the 11 that we will be opening is right here in Waimea. And it's because principals like Ms. Pickles had the initiative and had the foresight to volunteer some of her space. So, you know, thanks to the Waimea community for being one of the first ones to have this preschool open.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We're gonna have you stay here if you don't mind.
Okay.
We'll have a couple questions from the audience, if that's okay, before you catch your flight. All right. So we have a little time for questions, either specific to Ready Keiki, the Lieutenant Governor, or in general. And I can bring the microphone around as well.
I thank you very much for that great information. So I'm a dietitian, mostly retired now. So I worry about what people are going to eat. And of course, I want them to start eating well early. So I'm concerned that the double box program did not make it into the final budget. But I understand that the governor has the opportunity to make sure that it is included through the money that he's allowed to use or whatever. So I just want to ask that that be put forward, because if people are incentivized to buy fruits and vegetables, it's a win-win for everybody, for the nutrition, for the families, for the farmers, because that's what we got to do, start them eating those foods early, so they can be healthy.
No, thanks for that comment. And, you know, it's not just the double bucks. I think what we need to do is really encourage our farm to school program. You have a really great example here on the Big Island. Ka'u School is probably one of the most successful farm to school program. And thank you. Any other questions?
May I ask the question, Sylvia?
Yeah, thank
Many of us here have maybe grandchildren. How would we apply for the Keiki program, and what ages are we talking about?
That's
Starting this fall.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a really good question. In the past, preschools were only available for 4-year-olds. Thanks to the legislature, they have expanded access to include 3-year-olds. If you are living in Waimea and you want to apply to the new preschool that will be opening in August, please go and see Angela Thomas right there. And the other thing is you can call the Waimea school. But the other thing that you can do is you can go on the Keiki website and you can look at other schools as well. So spread the word. And I think Ms. Pickles has done a really great job. We have 20 spaces open at Waimea Elementary, and apparently she's been getting a really good response so far.
Briefly, one other area that you are focused on is broadband, providing broadband. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about what your focus is going to be in that area?
Yeah, even right now, it's great that we're in person, but I think one of the lessons from the pandemic is having Zoom capacity and virtual meetings is something that's going to stay, and it provides convenience even at the legislative arena for us to have virtual remote testimony. It's something that David Tarnas has been pushing for years. After the pandemic, or even during the pandemic, the federal government recognized broadband is a crucial issue, and especially in the Big Island, there's some areas where you're driving. If you drive from here to Naalehu, you're not going to get any kind of broadband service for at least an hour of driving. And broadband is so essential, not just for this kind of meetings, but for healthcare purposes, education, workforce, all type of situation. The federal government provided at a minimal $115 million, and we're already working with many of our partners, including the congressional delegation, on how that's going to be spent. I think it's really important to connect the islands first, because the connection, the cables between the islands are aging out. And in 2019, Kauai lost its broadband capability for close to a day. And can you imagine if that happened to the Big Island as well? And what that would do for Hawaiian Air. You won't be able to fly out. For healthcare, you're not going to be able to have access to healthcare. So this is a really important issue, and we've been working very closely with the university. The thing that I want to credit the Big Island is the Big Island has been on the forefront and has been a really champion for discussions on broadband. And the county of Hawaii has taken the lead in many of these the grassroots discussions. So, we hope to continue to engage many of the communities to make sure that we have broadband capacity in a lot of the areas that are remote and rural, and to ensure that you have not just fast and reliable, but accessible and affordable broadband.
I had a question about the broadband. Several years ago, they had what you call national security issue as far as making that accessible for like the reservoirs up here who were installed broadband for that. Whatever became of that?
Can you say that again?
Well, they were gonna use national security monies to install monitoring devices up on the water reservoirs. So there'd be, in case people come to tamper with the water supply system. And Cindy Evans brought it up.
Yeah, I'm not
years
sure
ago.
about that.
This is maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I haven't heard anything about it since.
Yeah.
So
I'm not aware of
We can talk to,
that.
Jim maybe about that.
Yes.
And you can, yes.
I just want to congratulate you. You've been in office 5 years. Look how much you have done. The state is moving.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Everywhere around town, we have outmoded signs. How are you going to staff these preschools?
Oh, that's a really good question. The most interesting thing that we found out was that the University of Hawaii system, if you wanted to be a preschool teacher at a public preschool, you almost have to have a dual degree. So you have to have a preschool to third grade degree, plus you couldn't just have a pre-K to third grade degree. You have to double major in a pre-K to 3 plus K to 8. So because the curriculum was so rigorous, and the second thing was because there weren't really jobs available, because there were no public preschools, not too many public preschools, people have opted out of having that dual degree. So as an example, of 100 kids would try to apply because they said, okay, why not just get a pre-K to 3 plus the K to 8? Because of the rigor of the curriculum, 75% of the kids drop out. And so this year, because we're ramping up the number of preschools, the University of Hawaii system and working with all the campuses, including Hilo, will be bifurcating the pre-K to 3 from the K to 8, so that we can have a dedicated preschool degree. The other thing is the community colleges are already looking at a teacher's assistant program that is starting from this year, dedicated for preschool. So in the private preschool, in the public preschool, they will require teachers with a 4-year degree and a teacher's assistant with an assistant degree. On some of the private preschools, a 2-year associate degree is sufficient. So what we're planning to do is work with the university system to ensure early college. So you can actually get an associate degree while going to high school, and we'll be working closely with DOE to see if we can speed up some of those things.
It's off topic. I apologize for that, but a good friend couldn't be here this evening and he asked me to ask you. I know that recently legislature passed and the governor is in favor of a $10 million allotment to repair the Kohala ditch. Do you know anything about that? Can you speak to that?
It's not something that I can speak to. I know it's something that was included in the budget, and that's something that we'll be working through. Thank you for putting that on our radar.
Thank you, Nancy. I think we're close to time here.
We'll do one more, right here.
That's coming.
I just wondered if there was any place to go to for the public to view the curriculum involved in the preschool classes, to either review the curriculum or to have input towards that from the community.
The preschool curriculum is established by the Executive Office of Early Learning. I think they already use the preschool curriculum in other preschools, so you can definitely go and inquire with the Office of Executive Office of Early Learning.
Is there a place to view it?
I'm not sure if you can view the curriculum, but it's something that I will inquire with them as well. Thank you. And with that, thank you so much for being. If I can make the last plug, I really appreciate the Waimea community, and I really enjoy working with both David and Tim and Heather, and the fact that you have 3 folks you know, out of their busy schedule to come here and to listen to you folks and to care about your community. I mean, you folks are really lucky and I enjoy working with these three outstanding folks. And, you know, we can't do many of the things in the executive branch without the legislative branch and without the support of the county. So I think we have a great partnership and you need the executive and legislative working together like this. So mahalo to you folks and mahalo to all of you folks.
Mahalo, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for spending time here with Waimea community. It's wonderful to have you here. Wish you safe travels back to Honolulu. Thank you for being here this evening with us and appreciating our town and joining us here. Thank you. Grateful for all the work that you do for our community and our ohana. I just gonna run through a couple of community announcements. I have a number to run through, and I know we're running close on time here. It might go a little bit over, so just be forewarned about that. It's a busy summer. We have a lot of things going on in the community here. And I'm just gonna go through a couple of them here when Mary Beth, whenever you're ready, just take your time. That's okay. Because there are a lot.
Give me a lot more
I know.
PowerPoints than usual.
I know.
All right.
Okay, so we did talk about the National Trails Day event, and one thing there are other things happening on this Saturday as well. So if you go to the next one, there's this kind of a continuation. After you're in the park, you can head on over to Firehouse Gallery. They're really celebrating National Trails Day and kind of they call it Glory of Trees. So there's a lot of art on display there, celebrating our trees and our love for trees. Then also the next one happening throughout the day. So Billy Bergen's going to be a busy man. He's going to be at Pukalani Stables from 9 to 2, book signing. So please visit him out there especially during the farmers market that's happening there. And then also on Saturday, we have, I'm going through these quickly because there are a lot here. And these will also, if you don't catch them here, they're up on our Facebook page. We do try and post them. I just want to capture them here as much as possible. Quahog Canoe Club is putting on their steak fry. You can either call the number on the bottom to buy a ticket ahead of time, or you can buy at the door. And they also have an auction and live music. So something exciting there. And then Rich did talk about the Kaukai for Keiki program here. So this is a big program for our community and really supporting our ohana and our keiki in the community. This is a 6-week summer program. We have a food service program. It begins June 19th and it runs through July 28th. And once a week pickup for families. It includes 7 days of approved shelf-stable foods and produce to create breakfast and lunch menus for each week of this program. The big important piece of this, and you can scan it on the screen there, is you need to register for this though. So registration opens this Monday, June 5th at 8:30 in the morning. And you can also find the link at vibranthawaii.org, Kaukai for Keiki there. And so it's important that you get in this registration, get it right in the line there, because applications are processed kind of on a first come, first served basis. And there are a number of distribution hubs here in Waimea and across the district. These include our North Kohala Resilience Hub, Kailapa Community Association. These are all happening on Fridays. One is happening, I'll get to that one in a moment, but North Kohala Resilience Hub on Friday, Kailapa Community Association on Friday, Canada France Hawaii Telescope headquarters on Fridays, and then they're going to be alternating with Keck kind of every other week. And those days will be also up on our website there. And then Hawaiian Homes Kuhio Hale on Wednesdays, and then Hamakua Youth Center on Fridays. Beyond that, there are 30 other distribution sites across the island. So really grateful for all the partners from Matson to Hawaii Food Service Alliance to the Hawaii Child Nutrition Programs, No Kid Hungry, Vibrant Hawaii, and then all the community partners to really bringing this on, putting this together and supporting our families during this time, especially after the pandemic. Thank you, Mary Beth. Next up, next week actually is the hospice golf tournament. So on Tuesday, if you got a good clubs, good set of sticks, you can head down there. Registration's open now. You can visit the North Hawai'i Hospice website to sign up and enjoy that opportunity to support North Hawai'i Hospice. And thank you. Next one, we have Annunciation Food Pantry. They're holding 2 upcoming food distributions on June 13th and the 27th, and they welcome. Yes, Patty.
That's the old slide.
Oh, is it the old one?
Yeah, they're moving it up to 8 AM as a start.
Okay,
And it's only available while the supplies last, because the demand is really substantial. The dates are correct, but it starts at 8 o'clock.
thank you for that correction. So 8 AM until supplies last. Thank you. Then, of course, I think they also welcome volunteers and support in another sort of fashion that you're willing to give. The next one, this is once again talking about Rich said about the Waimea Food Truck Friday, hosted here on the Keck site. Really put on by Naupaka Events and the community members and those businesses that welcome that event. So that's June 16th. Thank you, Mary Beth. The next three I have here really tie into our Thelma Park Memorial Library. And the first one here is the Summer Reading Challenge, which begins today. So you can sign up and you can read and be entered to win round trip tickets with Alaska Airlines. So this is an opportunity for you as for family members and your Keiki to get involved and look for some sort of award at the end of the summer there. Thank you, Mary Beth. The next one is this is a continuation of their Waimea arts classes and their community arts classes. This one in particular, so I think registration is open as well for this one. This one is happening a little bit later. So this is July 1st. But this one is focused on our Amakua, our guardians, our guides, our spirits. And so that's the topic we're going to try and capture for this particular one. And then the next one is kind of an interesting one here. This is it's called An Era of Change. It's an oral histories of our civilians during World War II. And this is stories by Kisao Kimura and Nora Kaawa. It's an in-person event at the Thelma Park Memorial Library. And these are words and stories told by these two individuals, but they're going to be dramatically interpreted by narrators from the statewide cultural extension program, Readers Theater Ensemble. And then, of course, some sampling of music from that era. So it'll be an interesting experience there. So that is on Tuesday, June 20th at 11:30 in the morning. And then we did post this on our Facebook recently as well. Kahului Theaters has a number of summer camps coming up for our Keiki in the community. There are 3 different ones. There's a aerial dance by Prince Dance Studio. There's the Kahului Performing Arts, and then Kapena School of Music. So some different opportunities later in the summer for our children. And then the last one I have is a save the date. This is kind of looking a little bit further out into the year. This is put on by Paniolo Preservation Society of Old Hawai'i on horseback. So save the date, September 16th. And when we have more information about that, we'll share with the community. I think that's all I have on those. Kind of blitz through those, so thank you for that. And as I said, these happenings and anything that we receive and we try and gather from the community, and if you're part of an organization that needs help sharing things out, we're happy to do that for you. And share that on our Facebook page, and we can put out whatever, and at these meetings as well. So appreciate you letting me share those. And yeah, I think I'll leave it with that. So we can move on to our next portion. We're grateful to be joined by our next 2 guests, our state legislators. They've taken the time of this year to join us at past community meetings. Really at the beginning of the year, they kind of give their goal setting and what they're looking at to do for the year ahead. And then we're lucky to have them almost near the midpoint of the session too, to kind of see how things are going. And then we're grateful to have them here towards the end of the whirlwind of the past few months to really see what happened in the session and what came out on top and what they've brought to our community and what we've been able to accomplish and some of the insight and what we can do going forward. So first, I'd like to welcome up Chair of the House Committee on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs, Representative David Tarnas. Welcome, Representative.
Aloha, everyone. I'll ask you to advance it. Thanks so much for having me be here. This is a great opportunity to give you an update on the legislative session. It's been a whirlwind, and I think actually net total, we did a lot of good things. And there's a lot more that we need to do. But I think overall, I feel really good about what we've been able to accomplish. I would like to give you an update tonight. It's a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm happy to let, if you can make available through the website, that'd be great. But I also have a newsletter, basically a report from the legislature that you can take with you, and I'm mailing it out to everybody as well. So please take it, I'll pass it out after I'm pow talking and Q&A and take it with you. So you don't take notes, it's all in here. But I do want to run through this, and I'll run through it pretty quickly and then go to Q&A so that we can talk, because we did a lot. And it was in December, I got a call from the Speaker of the House, Scott Psyche. This is in December, around Christmas. He said, David, I got to ask you to do something for me. I said, what's that? He said, I want to ask you to chair a different committee. Instead of chairing Water and Land Committee, which is what you've been doing for all this time, you want to keep doing it, you need to chair a different committee, Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. It had all the hot topic issues, all of them, the Supreme Court decisions about women's reproductive health care rights. It had to go to Judiciary. Gun safety, concealed carry weapon licensing, that had to go to Judiciary. We just had 2 legislators get indicted for taking bribes, and public corruption was at top of mind for everybody, and people were outraged that public officials were behaving this way. The House formed a commission to improve standards of conduct, and they had 30 recommendations to improve government transparency and accountability and everything. All those bills came to Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. I took a deep breath and I told Speaker, yes, I would be chair of, I would accept his request to be chair of Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs, knowing it would be a heavy lift. I'm not an attorney. I'm a planner. I'm an environmental planner. You've known me for years, and that's been my thing. But I had to give that up to work on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. So that's been my focus. I'll cover it even more so in this presentation. And so you just see where I'm coming from. I got to deal with all of those issues. It was a big responsibility, and I'm grateful that it worked. I think we did some good things. We were focusing on meeting the needs of our working families. Priority, what are the things driving our cost of living, which are driving our people away? And what are the working families who are, you know, they're asset limited, they don't own where they live, they're income constrained, meaning they're working, but they don't make enough to make ends meet. They're employed, and so they're working, but it's just tough, and housing is a big part of it. We established a supportive housing pilot program within the Office of Homelessness and Housing Solutions, focusing really specifically on innovative solutions to support people who are experiencing housing challenges. We put more money, $100 million in fiscal year 24 and $180 million in fiscal year 25 into the rental housing revolving fund. This is what's used to help build rental housing stock in the state. So it's not just affordable purchase, but this is affordable rentals. We put 170, we have never done this before, $170 million was appropriated for the planning, construction of statewide teacher housing. And this would be on school property, DOE property. We passed some significant tax relief for local families, increasing the household independent care services tax credit for the next 5 years, increasing the refundable earned income tax credit and the income thresholds and credit amounts for the refundable food and excise tax credit for 5 years. So it was a big chunk of money that we had to put in or allocation of that loss of revenue by giving this tax credit. So it's a significant investment for the legislature. We also wanted to invest in helping reduce the monthly cost for people who have a home and they can't afford to put in their own solar. So this is $100 million for the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority to provide solar loans to low-income families, just to help them be able to put in solar photovoltaic to help reduce their monthly burn rate and their energy costs. Mental health is a huge issue here, as economic stresses really tear apart our domestic bliss, and it can cause people to get frustrated and despair. And it's tough. We have a lot of mental health challenges that go unmet in our community, whether they're youngsters who are stressed because their parents are stressed, their aunties, their uncles, they're 3-4 generations in the house. And people are feeling the stress of all these things we talk about, affordable housing and cost of childcare. So we established on Oahu, because that's where 80% of people live, a 2-year child and adolescent crisis mobile outreach team pilot program, and then one neighbor on site, and we're pushing for it to be here, to expand the existing crisis response services, trying to meet those urgent mental health care needs in our community, in that demographic, in the younger group. We also are trying to assist people who may not may not know because of their mental challenges, and they're homeless, and they don't know that they've got a mental challenge that they need to be addressed. They need somebody to help work them through it. Sometimes they may even need medication. They need to be brought into a mental health professional to help them go through that process. So we're actually authorizing psychiatrists and advanced practice registered nurses to request assistance from the state, the Attorney General, to file a petition with the court for an assisted community treatment on behalf of people or their families who say, this guy needs help, this lady needs help, can we do this? You can help us do this. Natural resources is huge for our community here, and so we invested a lot of it in our legislative session, 194 million to protect, manage, and restore our natural resources, including native forests, native plants and animals, aquatic resources. So we spread the money out across our different assets, our trust assets, coastal lands and freshwater resources. We put $44 million into capital improvement projects in state parks statewide, and 60 million for boating and ocean recreation, small boat harbors, launch ramps. We got a good chunk of money for repairing the Waihai North small boat harbor breakwater and replacing the harbor dock that got blown out several years ago in the New Year's storm. And so we're finally moving forward on that. And so we've been able to invest in some of these resources that we need to do. Now let me cover some of the main things we did in our Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee. This is the assignment. Considers legislation related to Hawaii's courts, crime prevention, civil law, firearms, attorney general, the judiciary, persons of Hawaiian ancestry, including programs administered by DHHL, Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, OHA. So that's the remit. That's what I got to focus on in the committee. We got 30 recommendations from the Commission to Improve Standards of Conduct that the House formed after these two legislators got indicted. And they had all these recommendations. We actually passed most of them in one form or another. And I've been getting very good feedback from Judge Dan Foley, who was the chair of this Commission to Improve Standards of Conduct, and other members. They've published articles where they've said that, yeah, they actually were diligent. The chair of the House Committee and the Judiciary Committee and the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee did a good job. They were diligent. They moved through and most of these bills. And for that, we will have a more transparent and accountable government. It was, as the State Senate Judiciary Chair, Carl Rhodes, said, this is a banner year for ethics legislation. And so in government transparency, we passed a couple of different bills. Ethics reform, these are just the 5 main areas: government transparency, ethics reform, campaign finance reform, public corruption prevention, and election integrity. So these are the 5 main areas we focused on, and we passed a whole number of bills that you'll read about in my pamphlet that you can take with you. So it was significant what we were able to move through. And it was great to have support in the Senate Judiciary Committee, have support from the House membership, the House leadership, and the governor was supportive of this. We were all on the same page, and so it worked. Government reform, I'll just go through this briefly. We prohibit lobbyists from contributing to elected officials that during the legislative session. We established that we strengthen the state's laws regarding public corruption, so that it's now the state attorney general has the statutory authority to go after a public servant who has done these things. It's now a Class C felony for official misconduct. It's now a Class B felony for the offense of fraud. It's a Class C felony for making a false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim. So So we made significant progress on strengthening the state's laws regarding public corruption, to fight public corruption. We strengthened the state laws in regards to elections and elections integrity. We're actually going to have a digital voter information guide for the first time ever. We're going to have that here produced by the Office of Elections, and you'll be able to access it. So big step forward. We appropriated funds for the judiciary, and also we have really increased support for the judiciary to prepare a master development plan for the South Hawai'i District Court Complex. It's been around a long time. It's an old, tired building, and it needs help. Our South Hawai'i District Court, you're familiar with it. And so we're going to be doing a master plan with the judiciary and figure out what we're going to do with that, and how to update the court, and how to actually, the court building itself, and meet the needs of the South Hawai'i District. We appropriated funds for a centralized statewide criminal pretrial justice data reporting and collection system. It's amazing we don't have this already, but we got that through. We also addressed a state Supreme Court decision called the Obrero decision, which complicated our ability to indict people who had felony charges against them. We again strengthened some laws related to making a Class B felony the offense of obstruction of justice. We did a number of important bills to protect victims of domestic abuse. We actually legalized fentanyl test strips so that it's going to be easier for people to test for fentanyl on street drugs, because it's been a scourge when people getting hurt by that. We passed funding bills for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We made it easier for adopted individuals to be considered a child of both the adopted and the natural parent when it comes to DHHL relationships and succession. Let me move forward here. We passed a major bill to establish a concealed carry weapon license system, which was required by a Supreme Court decision called Bruin. We passed a very strong bill. Moms who demand action, the Brady organization, the Gifford organization, we're all working closely with people in Hawaii to pass this. And I was the House lead on this issue, and it's a strong bill, and we'll get to celebrate tomorrow. We'll sign it. I'll be there at the bill signing ceremony with the governor. And so and then thank you if you could join us here wearing orange at the Akua Purdy statue for sign waving. That was on Friday as well. There's more that we're going to be doing, but let me just mention last two here. We finally did something to try to deal with illegal fireworks. We set up a task force and funded them. This is a task force of law enforcement people, law enforcement organizations, to work together to identify and interdict illegal shipments of these aerial fireworks coming into the ports. So we'll give that a try. And then the last thing is we allow finally for the renewal of driver's licenses online. How about that? We're trying to bring it into got $13 million to build Waikoloa Public Library, planning, design, and construction. So it's the first tranche. I'm gonna go back for more once we do some more planning and design. Anu finally got the rest of the money they need to build out their multi-purpose building, including a certified commercial kitchen, which will help them make their own meals for their community. Thank you. We provided $1.5 million to do the rest of the work on the Upolu well for ag water. We appropriated $10 million going to the Kohala ditch system for repairs to restore and reactivate the Kohala ditch system. This was a proposal from the governor, and I didn't push it, and I don't think that I'm not sure, Tim, if it was on your list. So Tim got it on his list. I did not have it on my list. So through Tim and the governor, you were able to get this in the budget. And so how that's going to work going forward, Department of Ag is the one that's managing it, and they're going to have to do that. And maybe Tim can speak to it. We got money for a water upgrade system going out to Waimea Kohala Airport. And we also got $9.6 million for the Waimea Regional Safety Improvement within Waimea Town on our Kauai High Road and Lindsay Road. And I have to stop right here, but these are the community grants and aid that we provided to our community. They're listed here. I'm gonna, if I can take a question or two.
Can we jump to Tim and then come back to you?
Let's do that
together.
So I will. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Tim will speak next, and I'd be happy to take questions after that.
Thank you, Representative Tarnas. Yes, so next we're gonna have Senator Tim Richards. And Tim served on a number of committees in the Senate. Did you want yours? Yeah. I can put up on mine, or you can do it on yours. Okay. So let me just get this right here with Senator Richards on the number of committees he served on. Tim served on the Senate committees for Commerce and Consumer Protection, Education, Wine Affairs, and was one of the leads for the Agriculture and Environment Committee as our vice chair. So welcome, Senator. Thanks for joining us here this evening.
Thanks, James. Just click here to go to the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, once again, thanks very much. First of all, start off by saying aloha. Okay, let's get started correctly here. Really appreciate the opportunity to come up and talk story now, finally, as your senator. It's been a bit of a learning curve. I can say it's the best legislative session I've ever been involved in. It's kind of like people say, how was this? Kind of like drinking from a fire hose. You get a full belly of water, but boy, a lot's going by your head as you're. That being said, I have to say that the colleagues I worked with, we have a collection of 25 people, individuals that are very smart and they care, regardless of what the media wants you to believe. There's a lot of thoughtfulness that goes on in there. And so I can, very honestly say that I received a lot of help and a lot of guidance from my colleagues as we went through the session. But there is a very steep learning curve. We'll go through this. Let's get into this with save time for questions. First of all, I want to start out by saying legislative session. This is a view as you step out of my office. This is what I get to look at. And what I wanted to point out here, and David's great about talking about the whole legislative process. 3,132 bills are introduced, 274 passed. So you only have a little under 9% that actually make it through. And I'm a numbers guy. People have seen me through county council. I look at numbers because I want to understand what we're doing, but less than 10% pass. That means we do a lot of reading. Hey, James, I'm going wrong here. Oh, there we go. I'm doing a lot of reading for all this. I introduced 12 bills as a primary lead. 3 of them passed. So I feel very fortunate I was able to get 3 through. You can read this. I'm not going to read every word I put on the screen. However, the first bill that went through was 696, and that had to do with the workers' comp. People remember when we had that volunteer firefighter in Ka'u fall through the bagasse. I was sitting county council. Our county, good to see you, Heather, by the way. Our county has 21 fire stations and 18 additional volunteer fire stations. We couldn't do without our volunteers. Problem is, if they get hurt, they're not covered by workers' comp. This bill covers them as if they were employees. And so this is a huge deal. And for us neighbor islands who rely a lot on volunteer, the Oahu, which again is the bulk of the senators, they have no idea how much we rely on volunteer help. And so they were very much behind this bill. And that's why I went through. And this was the first bill of my career that got passed. So I feel very proud of that one. The other 2 had to do with agriculture. And that's no surprise, right? But one of them had to do with the training. And we had mentioned earlier about the food, the farm to plate for our schools. Our Lieutenant Governor talked about that. In order for our farmers to sell to like our schools, you have to be federally certified through the SCAP program. So this sets up the program to get the farmers trained. Basically, it's the paperwork so that we're allowed to sell into the school program. The other one had to do with the UH and basically extension, 5 positions. We didn't quite get the extension position. We got the technical advice, but again, it's all about agriculture. There we go. I also had about 4 resolutions, and again, they all related back to agriculture. Again, my agenda is agriculture, but in agriculture, you need housing. In agriculture, you need education. In agriculture, you need transportation. So though when I say agriculture, I'm talking about all of it because it's all together. Specifically on these resolutions, what a resolution is in our legislature, it's a strong recommendation to whatever entity that we really want you to do this. Otherwise, next year, we're going to be coming with a bigger hand. And that's basically what this is. But again, it related back to agriculture, the 4-H and the FFA program, invigorating that. We want more of that. Kupuna rural healthcare, pushing on that one. The double bucks that was mentioned again today, I want more of that. And some of the concept I talked to DOA Chair Sharon Hurd, let's expand it to the whole population. Let's really enforce this, and it's a state matching to federal funding. We can really boost this and really help out our farmers for marketing, as well as getting fresh food to our population. And then the last thing we talked about was I really want our Department of Agriculture to update their mission vision statement, because with that, we'll have a roadmap of where I want to take the Department of Agriculture. Some of the things we talked about, and Rep. Tarnas talked about this. We pull a well, 1.5 million. These are the CIP project. Waikoloa Public Library, that's been ongoing for us today for a long time. 13 million. Palamanui Community Forest, 500,000. Kohala Ditch System. We can come back and answer some questions on that. But that was something that I requested and talked to the governor about, to get 10 million into the budget, to get the ditch fixed, to get water back into the ditch so we can expand agriculture in Kohala. At one time, there's 20,000 acres being cultivated under the sugar system. If we get 5,000 acres cultivated, we can do a lot for our food self-reliance, food security. Some other CIP projects, almost 5 million for the Kona Airport. Here's money that Dave talked about for Waihai Harbor, 15 million this next year, another 5 million the following year. Waimea upgrade, this is 2.8 million for that pipeline that Dave was talking about. And that was something that Dave and I talked about, and we supported together, because it's not just about that pipe, it's about what that's going to bring as far as potential economic growth. So there's reasons for that. And then the 9.6 million for our roads. You know, when I look at the CIP projects and when I look at the grant and aid, sure, I look at it for District 4, which is Senate District 4, but I also look at District 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're talking about one community, one county. So though I campaign hard for our district, I'm also, and we are working on campaigning for our county as a whole. And well, quite frankly, other counties too, because we have to support each other going forward. So again, just to touch on some of this, Hakalau, 80,000, Honokahai, 1.4 million for their science facilities. Kanuokaina, that's a 1.2 million that Dave talked about for the kitchen. CIP for within District 3, and again, this is South Dakota, but you can see the numbers there. Pulualoa for 250,000, Kahakai 2.5 million, Kehe 6 million, Kealakea Intermediate 5 million, and then Nalehu 150,000. Again, we are one community, and I can't emphasize that enough. That's why we support each other going forward. That's why when staff put this together, I said include the other districts, because we are one county. You can see things for District 1 and 2. De Silva Elementary 3 million, Hilo Intermediate 1 million, Waikea 3.5 million, Pahoa 1.2 million. And also, this will also be available to the community if people want to look at it. Here's another thing. We talked about big capital improvement projects. Hilo Medical, $50 million. Kona Medical, 2.3 million right now to get the pharmacy compliant with federal standards, so we don't lose the Kona Hospital. And then another 16.2 million. And that's actually, you can put those together, because 16.2 is supposed to be the next fiscal year, but it is actually bumped up. So that 18 plus 18.5 is this year for Kona Hospital. And people say, well, you know, those are not in your community. And I say, well, yes, they are. because they border us on both sides. And I have constituents that live in PreK. They're going to go to Hilo. We have them in North Kona and in the Kona Hospital. So again, we are one community, and I cannot emphasize that enough. So with this and the GIA grant and aid, some of this I'm really proud of, because we worked hard on getting this Big Island mediation, 60,000, Hamakua Health. And some of this is operating, and some of this is capital improvement, bricks and mortar. Hamakua Health, 300,000, Youth Foundation, 310,000, Hawaii Island Humane Society, 150,000, Kahua Pa'amua, we're talking about agriculture in Kohala, David Fuertes, 200,000, Lokaki substance abuse, 70,000, spay and neuter, 75,000, and we've talked about that, Heather. We need to expand on that. And the YWCA, which is working on the kindergarten education process, 330,000 to move that project forward. So with that, again, I could stand up here for 10 minutes or 2 hours. There's so much to discuss. The point is, I wanted to hit some highlights so we can talk, give you some idea of what I've been working on. I'll tell you, I haven't lived in a city in 40 years. And I got to live in Honolulu for the longest 40 years of my life, 4 months of my life. It is a privilege and a pleasure to serve as your senator. And I think we've got a lot of things coming through. You know, we talked about those numbers and those, the total investment that we've had into our county, into our state. I'm a numbers guy, like I said. I looked at our state budget. This coming up year 23-24, it's going to be about $19.4 billion. Of that, about half, about 10 billion, is the stuff that we're talking about here. The other 9+ billion is the federal funding and things like that, specific funds, but about 10 billion comes from our taxes and all that. Next year, because we're on biennium, the budget right now is about 18.1 billion that has been approved, but there'll be a supplemental budget season next year, and we'll be adding to that at that point. And just for some numbers for you, Hawaii County total CIP projects was for this coming up year is 293 million of 4.3 billion that were awarded. But of that 4.3 billion, half of that is statewide projects. So we did pretty well. And the other one on our grant and aid, Hawaii County got 5.2 million of the 30 million that was awarded. So with that, Dave, come on back up. Let's answer some questions for our people.
Appreciate everyone's time this evening. So I'd like to spend about 10 minutes here, answer some community questions, and thank you for listening. Nancy's gonna pass the mic around. Please raise your hand and we'll try and find you.
In the meantime, James is going to pass out my legislative report. And so please, you're welcome to take them or give them to your friends if they don't have one. Thank you.
Aloha, Melissa Samoa. I just have one question regarding the Waimea Road and Paita. Does that include any improvements to Waiaka Bridge?
The Waiaka Bridge project is a separate funding, and that one is actually further ahead than the Waimea Regional Safety Improvement Projects. That would be a Quite High Road and Lindsay Road. The one at Waiaka Bridge is moving forward. We thought it was going to be sooner, but recently we were just informed that it's been delayed another year in order to get a Public Utilities Commission a permit to move that big electrical junction box that's on the Mauka side of the road. As you're heading up on Kohala Mountain Road, they've got to move that because that's going to be the land that's going to be purchased by the state in the new right of way to allow for a roundabout. And so they're drawing up those plans. Helco has agreed to do it. They just got to get POC approval, so that's extended another year. So it's what, summer 2025, I think. So that money's there. They're moving forward. We regret that it's delayed a year, but that's separate funding from this one. So we got both. So we're addressing long-term neglect
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
My name is Joy Fisher, and I want to congratulate both of you on your hard and diligent work
Thanks.
to, particularly with regard to ethics bill. And with respect to that issue, I wondered if you had any comments to a Civil Beat story that was in, online recently regarding the, successful attempt by Senator Dela Cruz to put $50 million into the budget by means of a legislative adjustment after the bill failed. Thank you.
You want to, I can start. One of the committees I wasn't on was Ways and Means. But in the social media, or not just social media, but in the media, you did see where this allegations of a lot of bullying going on. Someone who's going to be bullied is a freshman senator. And I can honestly tell you, I saw none and experienced no bullying personally, ever. Now, did people come talk to me about bills? Sure they did. And actually House and Senate, because as we do the crossover, we have to have the support, but I saw no bullying. To that, what you're talking about, when we're talking about the adjustments in the budget, I know there was the interest in having the, I guess they'll call it First Responders Academy that you're talking about in Wahiawa. And that funding that went in there, I'm aware that it happened, but I don't know the details behind that as far as that goes. I know there is a push. It is not as unwanted as some of the media might lead you to believe, but it's not categorically wanted by everyone because I think it comes down to a priority thing right now. Adrian, comments on that?
Yeah, Donovan Dela Cruz is a very powerful senator that chairs the most powerful committee in the Senate. And so he didn't do anything nefarious. He did what he felt was best. And he had the authority to do that, and it was done properly. So it wasn't, Civil Beat has sometimes described the way we do legislative work in a nefarious manner. And we're not terrible people, actually. You know, Donovan's very strong-willed. And he happens to have the authority to do what he did. And Tim's right, it has broader support than Amy Peruso in the House would like you to believe. So.
Does that answer that?
It gives you more information and, you know, my perspective on it as well.
I guess what I'm asking is, he may have had the authority to do what he did by inserting a $50 million budget item.
It was in the budget properly, you know, and it was added. It was the bill that.
Able to be added by legislative adjustment.
But
That's the question.
It was in the conference committee itself, and I think it was done properly. And the conference committee had, that my understanding, it was done in conference committee. And the public can be there at the conference committee, and yes, there's a lot of numbers being thrown around, and it's difficult because it's moving so fast, and a lot of decisions are being made all at the same time. It's even tough for us. So absolutely, it's not as transparent as I'd like it to be, because there's a lot, especially in the budget, because a lot of numbers are moving very fast, and decisions are being made because of the time crunch. So that's a challenge that we face. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. We've known each other for many years, of course. Done our bench here, now, been on the island for 30 years. But you've done a commendable job of getting money for us in this district and in this county. And I really appreciate your efforts. You've worked very hard in getting that done. I want to make sure that money gets spent correctly and that we don't have waste. We have totally wasted the money we spent on the improvements in Kauai Harbor so far. The flooding is worse than it was before they fixed it. The same thing happens with the intersection of the Kauai Road and Queen K intersection, where it was set to have two merge lanes that were set in to put in there. When I was chair of the South Hall Traffic Safety Committee, and those were at the last minute just eliminated. And we end up with an intersection that is almost exactly the same as what we had to begin with, but we spent millions of dollars. Same thing in Kauai. I just want to make sure that we're not
cutting ourselves short by spending a lot of money and not doing it effectively.
I agree.
Doing it the wrong way.
Well, we have to be vigilant about it, and thank you for your vigilance. South Dakota Traffic Safety Committee's vigilance helps, our vigilance helps, and staying on top of them so that they know that the public is, this is priority for us. Do it right, don't waste the money. So thank you for your advocacy.
And just to add to that, I don't disagree. We had the turn lanes briefly. We had the merge lanes briefly, and then they were painted out. That was early on for me. Relationships with the different departments are really important. As Dave mentioned, we have a lot of traffic safety improvements coming into this region very shortly. Lots of government very shortly, which means a couple of years. But they are coming forth, and that is an intersection that's going to take a lot more effort and a lot more care to get done. But I don't disagree with you on any of that. And the point is, I do have the director Ed Sniffen's here, and we talk a lot about these different things. So, again, just like county council, I build bridges, talk story with these people, and get them to understand the community's will. So we'll definitely carry that banner.
Thank you. Question for David. I noticed in your newsletter here that Waimea Town got 9.6 million for regional safety, and one of the items is my favorite item, the bypass.
Yeah, I know.
And it says a bypass between Kauai and Mamalo. Okay, so I have a question. If we're getting a bypass, I've been here 60+ years.
Don't get your hopes up.
And
So I asked about this because the language is in there.
David, let me just finish. Is this just going to another consultant to do another survey? Because I don't know, the only people making any money off of our bypass, that's been going on for 60 years in my mind, is basically the people who get the bill we pay them to do another study.
Yeah.
Is this another study? It's not gonna build the road at 9.7.
No, 9.6, the majority of that is gonna go to Kauai High Road and the Lindsay Road, Kauai High Road intersection. And that whole improvement there. The bypass language is included in that, but DOT highway says they're not pursuing a bypass.
So I've heard.
And so it's that realistically, it's not gonna happen. So yes, the language is in there. And it came out of a original DOT CIP request. So whether it was a remnant language or not, I don't know. I didn't put it in there because I know there's a disagreement about
It's
the
a trigger
alignment.
word, so maybe just.
I get it.
Since they're not gonna.
But it's in there, so I wanted to say it, and I drew attention to it, and Aaron Steen said, what's this? Bypass road, I thought we gave up on that idea, and
We
I,
haven't given up, but.
I remember when we started talking about the bypass road, I was in 3rd grade. And,
I got a copy of it.
yeah, mine was on mimeograph paper, right, back in the day. But to the point on that, that has not been a wild topic, but I have been talking to DOT about that. And I haven't given up on it, and I have some ideas on it. They're not gonna be totally popular, but the longer we wait, the more difficult it's gonna get to be. So as might as well throw it on the table and start talking about it so we can get it done. I haven't given up.
It's one of these things where I think about Daniel K. Inouye Road basically was built on a, old Jeep trail, hunting trail. Give me a bulldozer, we'll start the road.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll
Yeah.
just build it slowly, like every other road on this island. It's always been built from some Model T. It went down some trail. We gotta start somewhere, but to expect to put in Class A from the get-go is just unrealistically, financial.
I have some ideas.
and I know we gotta stop.
Move around. We need to keep moving. We've got a couple more questions and we want to finish at 7:15.
You go for it. I listened to you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Yes, David, thank you.
Disadvantage. I want to know who is behind this voltage pipeline that is going to the airport and why is it being done? Because I think there's a mistake.
We're gonna start.
The request came, DOT Airports is not able to do all of the things they'd like to do out at the airport because they don't have water pressure. They also wanted to have the ability to fight fires from there and have more access to water. So those are two things that was the nexus to DOT airports. Parker Ranch was also interested in the project to increase the capacity of water coming out to the airport that then would be at the end of the line. And so there was multiple interests that approached me, and probably the same for Tim. And those are the two sides, the two parties that came, and those are the reasons.
Okay. Go to the background. That line is a 6-inch long. And it has 170 pounds of pressure. If there were a drought, why would you be using domestic water to fight a range fire? I have an 18-inch line with 90 pounds of pressure in the same vicinity. It's not domestic treated water.
Much better to use for firefighting. You're right. You're right, David. I'll follow up with you.
I'll do one last question here. Yes, Mr. Collins.
Well, I had a couple of questions. One about
Just do
the.
one, if you don't mind. Just one.
I want to bring up the issue of Father Damien's church in the first church in Waimea. And it was by the Waiakos Bridge. And what I want to find out is, can we get a historic marker? And if it's going to be disturbing, the roundabout's going to be disturbing that historic site.
Real quick, I'll answer. What I understand is that there is no historic site left anymore. And so, there's been no discovery in the work for the historic sites as part of the project. And that the building was apparently moved. It's over at the Catholic Church now on the grounds there, apparently. And so what you're telling me, I've learned all this from you, James. And so just real quick, my suggestion is, if you want to have a historic marker on the side of the new road that's going out in the roundabout and all that, I think it's a great idea, but the church, since they have the property that is the marker would be about, they would be the ones to be the best advocate. And if they want to follow up on that, and if you want to follow up on it, let's do it offline. I'm happy to talk with you later about it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Gentlemen, last words like to share before we close here?
Just real quick, and he can have the last word because he's a senator.
Big deal.
I've got this here, a whole bunch of copies of this. This is the directory, Hawaii directory of public officials. It's really helpful. Every public official that's elected in the state is in here. There's a whole bunch of them on the table over there on your way out. So please take that. And then please share this with your family and friends. This is my my report card. You know, you hire me and I really work hard for you, and I appreciate being there. So thanks very much. Call me, email me if you have any questions. Mahalo.
Thanks, Dave. And again, echoing, it is a great privilege to serve as your senator. Never thought I'd be sitting in that square building, which I found isn't quite square. But I do appreciate the opportunity to serve for you and try and solve some of these problems going forward. I probably approach it a little differently than some other senators. I've been said I'm not the usual senator downtown, but that's okay. The question came up on that Kohala ditch. That is something that I pushed forth and pushed as an initiative, because we're talking about trying to stimulate the economy of agriculture, and we won't get that done unless we pay attention to agriculture. But it's more than water, it's land access, it's land tenure, it's processing, value adding. We have to do all of that. We've got to get it to market. So it's transportation. We talked about Waihai Harbor, key for agriculture. So I know I keep beating the drum for agriculture, but it's the whole facets of agriculture that makes this community what it is, and I'm very proud to serve as your senator. Thank you.
Mahalo, Senator, mahalo, Representative. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone's time here this evening. Thank you for taking those questions, some of those tough questions there, but grateful for you addressing those and the community concerns. Just want to close with a few words here, if you don't mind, and then we can be on our way for our evening. So thank you for your time. Mahalo nui to our presenters. Thank you for spending the time to be here with us this evening. Grateful for Lieutenant Governor for coming here to the community, entertaining us and talking about our community. and our community needs. It's really great to have our elected officials be here in front of the community in this sort of fashion, in this forum, really to update our viewers and our attendees for all the different topics that have come across the table. So thank you for that. And then, of course, engaging with our community. So appreciate you doing that work. Thank you all to our viewers online on the live stream and to our attendees here joining us in the audience here. Thanks for being here this evening. We're grateful for all of your support, for the Waimea community support and beyond. We have viewers that are beyond as well. So thank you for being online here with us. And mahalo nui to our friends at Keck Observatory. Thanks for hosting us here this evening. You're always welcome to revisit and rewatch these recordings up on our Facebook page or YouTube channel. So they're there for your viewing at later points and your pleasure. So please enjoy. Some of the little details you may have missed throughout the meeting are always there. Yes, and for our next month's meeting is July 6th. And our goal that evening is to learn more about the County Office of Sustainability, Climate, Equity, and Resilience. And we'll be joined by Chair Kimball that evening to speak more about that. And we'd also like to pull in the state counterpart, which is the Office of, we're not sure yet. So we're working on that piece, but that was kind of the state counterpart of what the county's pushing forward here. So we're looking forward to that. And we will let you know about the location and confirm with you via our website and information on there about the location for that. And so we look forward to having you join us that evening. And with that, I will say on behalf of the Waimea Community Association Board, I wish you good health, be well, aloha. Thanks, everyone.
You're not there quite.
Thank you back for